In this video, we're going to look at how we would find the inverse of a function. So in order to find the inverse of a function, our function needs to be 1 to 1. So in this case, we're told that our function is 1 to 1, and so we want to find this, which is the inverse. So this is the notation for the inverse. So f to the negative 1 power, it's actually not being raised to the negative 1 power. What this denotes is that it's f inverse. So it's the inverse of our function. So if a function is 1 to 1, we can find the inverse by first making f of x be y. So we say y equals 4x plus 2. So that we can swap the x and y and then solve for y. So to find the inverse, what you do is you replace x and y, you swap them, and then you solve for y. So let's go ahead and do that. Substitute x for y. So we have x equals 4y plus 2. So now we need to solve this for y. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have x minus 2 equals 4y. And then to solve for y, we're going to divide everything by 4. So divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. And so from this, we get y equals x over 4, or 1/4 x minus 2/4, which is minus 1/2. So this is the inverse of our function. And we can go ahead and write it as f inverse. So f inverse of x is equal to 1/4 x minus 1/2. So that would be our inverse of this function. So again, to find the inverse, you let f of x equal y, and then you replace y and x, you swap y and x, and solve for y. Now, when you have an inverse, right, a function and its inverse, they are actually they are symmetric about the line y equals x. So if you were to graph 4x plus 2 and then graph 1/4 x minus 1/2, you would see that if you reflected these about the line y equals x, you would just get the other line. So that's an interesting thing to note about inverses.